those who don't know, this is my friend Lauren. Hello. Hi. And she agreed to have a conversation with me about stress. So we're going to look at some of the same questions that you can look at with your own partner in a minute. So some things we can talk about are, so Lauren, what are some common causes of stress? What are some we've talked about or some other ones?
Yeah, so there are certain situations that I tend to feel stressed in. So that traffic was perfect for me. I get
Traffic.
very stressed when I'm stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
But generally, I feel stressed when I feel like I have a lot of things to do.
A lot on your plate, perhaps.
Yes, a lot on my plate. And it makes me feel a little frazzled to think I have all of these things to do and only so much time. How am I going to get everything done? That's when I feel stressed.
That's when you feel. So when you have more things to do than you have time to do them,
Yes.
that's when the stress happens for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. How about you?
Yeah, that's the same for me, I think. When I have, especially when I have a lot of balls in the air, this idea, if I'm doing lots of very different kinds of things, I find it very stressful to think about all the details of one thing and then go and think about the details of another thing at the same time. Yeah. What about you?
Yes, I am. I am not very good at multitasking, as you say. So doing lots of different things at the same time. My brain does not like to switch back and forth between different tasks. I like to do one thing, finish it, and then do the next thing. But sometimes that's not possible.
Right.
And that also stress.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes even when I'm trying to do things that I think will make me less stressed, so maybe I want to listen to music while I'm doing work or listen to a podcast or watch TV, sometimes I realize that if I have to write something or work on something, actually the extra noise is making me more stressed because I'm trying to concentrate on one thing while listening to another thing. So that can really happen to me too, I think.
So some people respond to stress with insomnia, like you mentioned, or stomach aches. Other people express stress through emotion. So how do you experience and recognize stress?
Yeah, I definitely, for me, sometimes I've experienced insomnia, but more often when I'm stressed, I can kind of feel it in my body, right? Either my stomach is really upset or I just feel like all my muscles are tense. And I also notice that I tend to get angrier much more quickly when I'm stressed, right? Somebody does something that really is not a problem or is not even a mean thing to do, and I'm suddenly really angry about it because I have all these other things happening at the same time. What about you? What does it feel like for you?
I agree completely. Yes, I feel it sometimes in my body. Like I carry a lot of stress in my shoulders. So when I'm very tense, I sort of tense up and then I get sore in my neck. But I notice it the most. Generally, I'm a pretty patient person, I would say. But when I'm stressed, I get angry very easily. So something very small, like someone leaves their shoes in the middle of the floor, I get very angry about that because I'm stressed about something else.
Yeah. How often do you feel stressed out, do you think?
I'm not generally a super stressed person. I think there's certain times of the year I tend to be more stressed. So in the beginning of a school year where we're learning new routines and getting comfortable, and we went from the summer where we were on vacation or not, we didn't have very much to do, to having sports, school, and other activities. I get stressed then. And then around the holidays, I tend to get stressed.
Right. Lots of planning.
Lots of planning and family visits, trips, and things. So lots of things to prepare. That makes me stressed.
Yes.
How about you?
Yeah, I think it's the same when there's in the fall when lots of new routines are starting, and I'm a freelancer, so that means I'm self-employed, but it means I have to also always make my own schedule. And so that's always stressful when I have to ask all of my students when they're available and make a big schedule plan and start new things. That always stresses me out, especially if I don't hear the answers back that quickly, so that can be a stressful time. Yeah, then and also in the holidays, there tends to be, in normal times, a lot of concerts and performances around the holidays, which sometimes I'm responsible for, so that can be very stressful as well. Yeah.
What are some of your coping mechanisms?
Yeah. In the past couple of years, I've really found that going for a walk can be really helpful. I've heard that advice a lot, like if you're stressed out, go for a walk. And I always thought people were just joking about that, or that, oh, I mean, that's for athletic people or for people who really like that kind of thing. But even before the pandemic, I started going for walks, especially in nature. So I'm lucky I live nearby some woods that are very nice to walk in. And I find that when I'm outside and things are green, or even when they're not, just being away from my computer, being away from home, being in nature, that makes me a lot less stressed, I think, and that the exercise of it too. So that's definitely one. And then the other for me, I think, is to talk to a really good friend, right? I think a lot of stress for me and for a lot of people comes from feeling like you are not succeeding, or feeling like you're not doing a good job, or feeling like everything is hard. And people who know you really well can remind you that no, you're working really hard, you're doing a great job, you have all these good qualities, that kind of thing. So they can help you feel better about yourself, even if they don't change the situation, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So, okay, so we have some activities here, some of which are more or less stressful. So I'm going to read off some potential stressors, and you can tell me which ones are very stressful or less stressful. So
Okay.
one of them is public speaking, so kind of what we're doing now.
Yeah. It's moderately stressful.
Moderately. I'm
It
sorry
depends.
if I stressed you out.
No, it depends how big the room is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is
This
an
is
okay
fine.
size.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever had to give a speech or a talk in front of a lot of people?
I had to give a speech when I graduated high school
Oh, wow.
to the whole grade and family, and I did not sleep before that. I was
Oh
like
no.
very nervous.
Yeah.
I was sweaty and
Right,
very nervous.
right. Yeah. Was that the first time you gave a really big speech, do you think?
Yes, that was the biggest. That was the biggest group of people I've ever.
Right, right. Yeah. And felt like you were like sweating and in the moment and everything too, you think?
Yes, I think probably I was shaking a little bit. So I was glad.
Oh man, that's okay. I don't know what's happening.
I was glad there was a podium to stand behind. I was probably like shaking.
Yeah, yeah. So that one can definitely be stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so too. I do a lot of singing in front of other people, but I find that less stressful than speaking in front of other people, because most people don't want to hear it to sound like you're reading something. So I find it much harder to prepare something to talk naturally in front of people than to sing something that's already a song that I know. Yeah. Organizing an event. How stressful is that for you?
I like planning things.
Yeah, I was going to say you organize a lot of things, I think.
I'm a planner, and I like to make lists of things. So it's not too stressful.
Not too stressful.
I am not good at delegating, that we say, though. Delegating is when you give other people jobs to do. I don't like that because I like to be in charge and know when things are going to happen.
Yeah. So that might be called micromanaging.
Yes,
Have you heard that? So that's when micromanaging is when you give somebody a job to do. So say my brother sometimes would help me cook something, right? And he says, oh, I'm kind of hungry. Can we make dinner faster? How can I help? And I'll say, okay, you can chop that onion. And then he'll say, okay, so how do I do this? And start doing it, I'm like, oh, no, no, stop. That's not how you do it. And then if I start doing it for him, that's me being a micromanager because I've decided, no, I need control over this situation. So that can happen, right? Yeah. What about going to a new place? Is that stressful for you?
I like traveling,
Mm-hmm.
so exploring a new city or a new place is fun for me, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't like driving in new places. Driving in
Yeah.
new places makes me stressed because I don't like if people are honking at me or if
Mm-hmm.
someone's driving behind me really closely. That makes me nervous.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I agree. So, especially even if you're traveling within the United States, people have very different ways of driving depending on where they're
yeah,
from. Like people drive differently in Boston than they do in New York, than they do in the Midwest, than they might do in the South. So, it's always very stressful because there can be kind of rules of the road. There's what's legal, but then there's also the general way that people drive, and it can be stressful if you don't know.
yeah. And I find the Boston area to be one of the hardest places to drive in the country. I think people are very aggressive.
Yeah, I think driving in the city of Boston is
Right.
very, very confusing as well, right? New York, it can be stressful to drive there, absolutely. But I remember the first time I went there, I was like, oh, all the streets are in straight lines. You
Yeah.
if you don't know where you are, you can just turn left and turn around the block. And in Boston, that's not the
Oh,
case. All the
no.
streets go all over the place, and it's really hard to tell where you're going. Yeah. What about going shopping? Say you have a big event and you need a new outfit, a new thing to wear. Do you find that stressful?
No, actually shopping is one of the ways that I unwind.
Ah,
One of my one of the things I do to blow off steam is to just go to Home Goods
okay.
on mass and just wander around. I don't even have to buy anything. I just like to look.
Just like to see the
Yeah.
things that you could buy. Yeah. Do you have friends who find shopping stressful that you go with?
My husband hates shopping.
Ah, okay.
Yes, he does not like.
Yeah, yeah. So do you go with him to, or is it
No,
too much?
no. Usually we do not go.
That would be too much stress.
Yeah. Well, because he just wants. He only goes if he needs something, and he'll get what he needs, and he wants to get in and get out, and he
Uh-huh.
gets frustrated because I want to also look at this thing or look over here at the store.
Right.
We just together.
Right. Yeah. I found that it's fun to travel and it's fun to go shopping, but it's good to go with people who have a similar personality doing those things. Yeah. That's much easier. Conflict in a relationship. What's that stress like for you?
That is stressful for me. I don't like fighting, and I don't
Hmm.
like conflict. So
Yeah.
I yes, I feel very frazzled in
Yeah.
conflict.
If it's somebody that I am very close to, or even somebody that I'm less close to, I find that feeling of conflict, of knowing there's a disagreement or knowing that somebody is upset with me, that's one of the most stressful things for me, I think, is that feeling that something is not right in a relationship, I think. Driving in bad weather.
I think driving is a source of stress for me.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's difficult in bad weather. So if it's a snowstorm or icy or really strong rain.
Yeah, and I grew up farther south from here in
Mhm.
Maryland. So when it snows in Maryland, people don't go anywhere.
Mhm.
So I wasn't used to moving to the Boston area, and it snows, and everyone expects people to still go places and still do
Mhm.
things. So I had
Yeah,
to learn how to drive in snow.
in snow, right? Yes, I remember that feeling living in other places too. I grew up here, so I was used to, oh, there's like a foot of snow. Well, we're probably still going to school, so we have to plan for that. But yeah, it can be very stressful if you're the one driving. I used to have a very old car, and it was very it was not very safe if the roads were slippery. So then I was very stressed when I was driving because I knew I had to drive really slowly to be sure that I didn't slip. So yeah. What about computer problems?
That is stressful for me.
Yeah.
I am not very tech savvy, so I am not good at a lot of electrical things, technology.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, when something doesn't work, I don't have any idea how to fix it. That is stressful.
Yeah. Do you have like a go-to person when you're like, okay, something is not working on my computer, here is who I will ask?
I usually call my dad for it
Okay.
because he loves technology. Like he's built a computer before, so I will FaceTime him and ask him
Uh-huh.
to help.
That's good to have that person. This is stressful for me because I am that person in my family.
No,
And I don't know that much about technology, but I know slightly more than a lot of my relatives. So they like to call me, especially my grandmother, if something is wrong on her computer. And it can be very stressful because she doesn't really know how to FaceTime. And so she'll just call me and say, okay, there was something on the computer and now it's gone. How do I get it back? Like, I need some more information, Grandma, to solve that. So, yeah, those technology problems can be stressful that way. But I will say the one piece of equipment that always causes me stress are printers. I don't understand this, but printers never seem to work correctly, specifically when you need to print something, which is a problem. Yeah.
I got very mad at my printer the other day because one of the ink cartridges was
Mm-hmm.
empty, but it was a color one,
Mm-hmm.
and I only wanted to print in black and
Black
white.
and white, yeah.
But it would not print it until I replaced the pink, and it made me mad
Magenta.
because I wasn't using it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very
It can be very frustrating. I used to sometimes when the black and white ink are gone, it will still print in other colors. So when I was in high school, I used to print out my essays in purple when we were out of black ink and hand them to my teacher and be like, "What is this?" It's like, "Sorry." Um, so let's see. Getting lost.
It depends if I have to be somewhere at a certain time. If
Mm-hmm.
I need to be somewhere at a certain time, then getting lost is stressful.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm just sort of wandering around, I don't mind getting lost because I like to. Usually, I'll find somewhere new or that was unexpected, and I like that.
Yeah, that can be fun in a way. I will say getting lost somewhere new in bad weather is not a good
Oh.
situation. That's happened to me before, right? I was going somewhere and it was a different country, and so my phone didn't really work that well, and so I couldn't really see the maps anywhere, and it was pouring rain, and I couldn't find the way back to where I was going, and that was pretty stressful, I'll say. What about studying for exams? Did that cause you stress when you were in school?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hated that, and I'm very glad that I no longer study for exams.
Study for tests, yeah.
But I was a liberal arts major, so
Uh-huh.
I focused on political science uh, and German studies,
Oh, okay.
but not math or science. So most of my classes just had one midterm and one final.
Okay.
So if you did not do a good job on your exam,
it was
was
most
not
of your
good.
grade,
It
right?
was most of your grade.
So in college, you're talking
In
about.
college, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that can be very, very tricky if it's a test that you know is very high stakes, like it's worth a lot for your grade, or maybe it's a final exam or a licensing exam,
Right.
that kind of thing can be very stressful. Yeah. I didn't ask you, what are some of your coping mechanisms?
So, well, wandering around Home Goods.
That's
one of
that's
my
the one. Yep.
That's one
Mm-hmm.
of- I also like to just go on walks. So in
Mm-hmm.
our neighborhood. We can walk around the neighborhood. There are not too many cars, so I just walk around. And I like to just be alone, where
Mm-hmm.
no one is talking to me or think about anything.
Right. This is difficult in your house, I hear.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to tell people how many people are in your house?
So I have 4 small children, so it's very difficult to find alone time where no one is talking to you. So I will go on a walk. But sometimes I'll take the dog and I'll say I'm walking the dog, but really I'm going for me.
The dog is walking you in
Yes,
that situation.
exactly.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Was there a particularly stressful time in your life. So there's times of the year that are stressful, and there's times of the day that can be stressful, but sometimes there'll be certain years of our lives or times in our lives that are particularly stressful.
I think the beginning of when I was a freshman in college,
So first
so
year
the
in
first
college.
year of college, that was a very stressful time for me. I had some different things going on with family members that were had some health issues, other issues, and also just adjusting to being
Mm-hmm.
in a new place, not knowing anyone, and um, yeah, so it was the combination of all those different things that made it a very stressful time.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely true. There are people you care about who are having trouble or who are stressed, and lots of things that involve change can be stressful. I think that's maybe why one of the reasons the pandemic has been so stressful for people is that there's a lot of change combined with worrying a lot about people that you care about, and that can be very stressful, that combination. Yeah. Hmm. Do you think that stress is ever like good or useful or necessary? Can pressure be a good thing, do you think?
Sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
I think I can think of certain times where I have felt really stressed, and being stressed forced me to evaluate or rethink what I was doing
Mm.
because being stressed made me realize that was I was doing too many things and
Mm.
I couldn't keep doing it. So I had to really think about what I wanted to be doing was good for me, what I could just stop.
Mm.
So in that way, stress was helpful. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
What about you think?
Yeah, I think it can be good, as you were saying, it can help you realize what things are important, right? If you have lots of things, sometimes it can be a problem because everything feels too important, right? And sometimes it can help you realize what things are really the most important versus the least important. Can also be good to sometimes you need a little stress to get things done, or at least I need a little bit of stress to get things done. I'm a procrastinator. What about you? Are you a procrastinator? You're more
Um,
planning than I am,
yeah,
maybe.
no,
Okay.
that makes me
She's one of these
stressed.
people who does not procrastinate.
But my husband was like you. We went to college together, and
Okay.
he used to do all of his work. He wouldn't start it before 2 in the morning
Uh-huh.
because he needed the deadline
Right. The
to
stress
get
of
the work done.
when
Yeah.
it was done. Yeah, that was kind of me in school too. I was famous for changing the topic or starting to write the essay the night before it was due. And this was okay because I could write very quickly, but it was not very pleasant. So, yeah, sometimes, so procrastinating is if you wait until the last moment to do something that you need to do. So, a lot of times in school, you'll have projects that you have maybe 6 weeks to do. And then I end up doing the project in the last 2 days instead of 6 weeks. Not a good choice. um, hmm. If you have nothing to do, like really no responsibilities, so you'll have to think back to a time before
Hmm.
4 children, do you relax and enjoy yourself, or do you find yourself getting bored quickly?
I I find myself getting bored. I think if I had just been very
Uh
stressed,
huh.
I sit and relax with nothing to do for a little bit.
Mm hmm.
But after a few days of that, I start to get bored. So I pick up projects.
Yeah,
What about
yeah.
you?
I think that's true for me too. I always think, oh, I just want a week where I don't have to do anything. And I've realized I can do nothing for about a day and a half before I start to feel, I don't know, frazzled or,
Restless.
unhappy. Yeah, restless. Like I need something to do. I can't just do nothing. But yeah, that can be it sometimes. Hmm. So maybe one last question. So how can you judge what the right amount of stress is for you? Um, and are there negative ways that people deal with stress?
I think when my stress is impacting how I treat other people. So when I
Right.
start to get so stressed that I'm not being very, that I not being very kind to my family members,
Mm.
or I get too impatient,
Mm-hmm.
then that is too much. That's too much stress.
Right. So that's how you know.
Yeah, that's how I um, there are lots of negative ways that people deal with stress.
Yeah.
I think some people tend to. I'm sorry.
Sorry. It's okay.
I think some people tend to lash out when they're stressed. So if they are feeling pressure or not feeling very comfortable themselves, they will act kind of mean in a mean-spirited way
Right.
towards the
Yeah.
people around them. So they will lash out.
Yeah, I found that like if you're ever working for somebody and say like your boss is very stressed, you can feel very stressed because you know that anything you do that they don't like it could be that they will not be happy with you, right? So, sometimes it's like, oh, you make a mistake, and the person's like, oh, that's fine, we'll fix it. And sometimes if they're stressed, they're like, ah, how could you do that,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it could be there. Yeah. Oh, can you think of any other interesting things about stress? I don't know.
No, I don't think
All right,
that's
then.
okay.
I think that was good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you
So,
so much
thank
for
you.
talking to me, Lauren.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you all for listening.